We are hitting a touchy topic today. Feminism. What is it? What's the history behind it? And how is it destroying America? It's one of the catalysts. It's one of the catalysts that the Jews use in all reality to destroy America in its modern state, to create a surveillance state, to create a state that is reliant on the government in which they control. You're not going to want to miss this. We're going to break down everything regarding it. I'm Jarrod Wright. This is the Right Wing. Let's get into it.
The Right Wing has been excellent. Jarrod Wright, Christian nationalist influencer.
So I'm sure that you've heard the word feminism. You've heard it. You probably have even mildly supported it to some extent. What is feminism? That's what we have to break down first before you understand it. In the modern sense, what we view it as is like these blue-haired chicks. They might have their freaking shirts off because, free the nipples, what they believe. Things like that, very, equal pay. We deserve equal pay. Women should be in the workforce. A woman can do anything a man can do. Obviously, I really don't support this. This is extreme feminism. I really don't support any of that. God made roles for a reason. He made woman and he made man, and we work together like this. We each are good at things. We're each bad at things. The other one fills in the gaps. That is how he created us. There's a reason for that. And this isn't even just religious. You may come here and say, I'm not a religious person. If you're not, you should accept Jesus Christ. But even if you're not, you can recognize that men and women are different. We are inherently different. Now, if you're someone that's coming in here and you're thinking like gender fluidity bullcrap, you're probably on the wrong channel. You should probably go on next door, Super Weenie Hut Generals down the road. No gays here. I don't know what to tell you. Gender fluidity, what are you talking about? You're just retarded. I don't know what you're here for on the right wing. We're not going to get along, just to be honest with you. You're outside of the boundary line for we can team up. Okay. I'm okay with teaming up with people who at least have a little bit of common sense behind their arguments. There's no common sense there. If you believe in transgenders, gender fluidity, just go on and go ahead. Super Weenie Hut Generals that way. All right. So we got that out of the way. Now let's talk to all the normal people, the people with an IQ above, let's just say 75. Okay. Feminism is destroying a lot of things. Now, what is the original term of feminism? Originally, this was about essentially voting. Essentially, they wanted to vote. They wanted to be able to own land. Originally, they couldn't own land by themselves. Things like that. They wanted to enter the workforce. We saw that happen within the 40s in World War II. They entered the workforce. And this kind of continued to trend. They come out of the home into the workforce until we created a pretty much constant two parents working household, which then allows for other things to happen, such as your children are now in public school, funded by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, specifically the Rockefellers, who want to create a generation of workers. And it worked. They created workers, not thinkers, not people who are geniuses and want to go do great things. He created 9-to-5ers. How do you do that? We had to instill a brainwashing. And in order to do that, you have to have access, all-day access to the child. How do you do that? You get women in the workforce. This is a domino effect. This is how they do it. Women go to the workforce. They say, well, we don't make as much as men do. Well, more and less you do. Right? Thomas Sowell proves that. He says, whenever you break down everything, whenever you tear everything apart and you say, if you basically actually compare apples to apples, a lot of times women actually make more than men. But you have to account for certain things. This sounds terrible, but once a month, productivity drops for a woman. This is a fact. More than likely, they're going to have children at some point. You just lost that woman. You lost productivity for a long period of time, and then the woman takes maternity leave for, probably several months, at least a month. That's a big deal. That makes a difference to somebody trying to run a business, trying to make money. Thomas Sowell says, the pay gap is ridiculous. It's not true. But, people love to play the victim. But if you back this up all the way into women's suffrage, that's kind of the beginning of everything is women's suffrage. Now, we can argue the whole should women vote thing. I'll give you my opinion on it. I think it should be a household vote. I think that's the best way of doing it. If you really want to backtrack all of your what we call issues, abortion, transgenderism, things like that, they're all heavily voted for by women. Had it have only been men voting for these issues, every single one of them would have been a non-contest. But women have swung it. Another reason that left-wing Jews push this. This is how they want to infiltrate society. Well, you do that by allowing women to vote because they're much more emotional thinkers and they feel bad for people and such. And they don't have logic behind their decisions a lot of the times. It's how we were made. Men tend to be more logical, women more emotional. There's needs towards this because the women are supposed to be nurturing, caregivers to the children, understanding how they're feeling and helping them with their emotions and grow. Now, this plays great within the home. Within the home, it does a great job raising children. But whenever you bring that outside of the home, it can cause issues like we see within society. This is why, myself included, I believe in a household vote. One household gets one vote, or you can even do it where you break it up in how many kids, how many people are above 18, and that's just how it works. That's kind of where it started, and it really just boom, boom, boom. Women into the workforce happened next. Then they're working even more hours. Then they want more pay, and then it jumps up into even crazy things with nowadays. And so I can't handle that. And what you saw is an increased rates of divorce within couples as this has happened, as the dominoes have fell. The more feminist society has gotten, the more divorces we've gotten because women have turned into, well, I can do it on my own. I don't need no man. I don't need no man. That's not what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be a woman who submits to her husband. I don't need no man. I don't need no authority figure. I'm a woman. Pink Pony Club. I hate that song, by the way. God, I hate that song. That is like peak feminism. I hate that song. If you listen to that song, you might be gay, by the way. Pink Pony Club. Yeah, don't listen to that. I can't stand it. It just preaches, this woman can be a stripper down at the club and, who's going to tell her what to do because she's going to do that. That's what she wants to do. Is there a more Jewish song than that one? Honestly. Anyways, divorce rates go up as women are more and more and more into the workplace. As women start graduating college more, as they go get educations. Because what happens is women are more apt to do well in school, actually, because of how their brains are programmed. Men tend to be much more hands-on. They tend to be like, let's build something. Women are much more language focused. How many women like to read books, like to write, do things like that? That's where their focus is at, which tends to do better in school. I believe the number is like a 68% graduation rate of women in bachelor degrees versus, men. I'm sorry, 58% of bachelor degrees, 62% of master's degrees are women. They're going to school. And that's not to say I don't believe women should have an education. It's to say that they do better and they're pushing these things and they start taking jobs within the workforce. We've created a two income household now, or essentially you have to have that to survive. It's next to impossible to survive without that. So let's just look at happiness. When it comes to this, happiness has absolutely dropped throughout the years. Let me find my infographic here, if I can. The Female Happiness Index. In 1972, they had a high happiness. In 2006, it was historic lows. This is coming from different studies, different things like that. Male happiness has stayed pretty consistent. They were lower than the female in the 70s, and now they're slightly happier in a lot of ways. But women have dropped out as far as how happy they are. So as they've gotten more amenities, or whatever you want to call it, more freedoms, they've actually gotten more and more and more mentally ill, depressed. It's like they see what they have to put up with in the world. They get depressed, but they want it even more. They want to work more. I don't know who told you that pulling the woman from the home, pulling her away from her children, her literal God-given job to nurture and raise children, putting her into the workforce was somehow freeing for the woman. You went from your husband's your authority figure and you're taking care of kids to you have a boss who's an authority figure and you don't see your kids. And your income essentially goes null because you have to pay for childcare now, or you just don't have kids. That's the way they're trying to wipe out the white population in all reality. The women just don't have kids. We're below the replacement rate. We literally can't keep up with the deaths to actually maintain a growing society of white people. They want to eradicate white people off the planet. That's part of the Jews' idea. They believe that we are Amalekites, that we are evil. They want to wipe us off the planet. This is part of the way they've done that. So women are depressed more. They're not in the home nurturing their kids. Like I said, their kids are now off at college. Their kids are now off into public schools, getting whatever brainwashing is given to them, Whatever, they need to learn, the 9 to 5, they're learning how to be workers. They're learning how to be told how to think and what to think, to do what they're told from 9 to 5. We do this day in, day out. That's what they're taught. That's what they're brainwashed with. And by the time they turn 18, that's all that they know. That's all that they're used to. They either then go get a job, or they go to college and do the exact same thing for a few more years to go get a job then and make a little bit more money doing the same thing, 9 to 5, 9 to 5. A few break through and do incredible things, but it's a very small percentage. Have you ever noticed that? They didn't want the children to become thinkers, inventors, creatives, doing incredible things, seeing the problems in the world when they think for themselves. They wanted them to be told what to think and then to think that. And then they go work. And then they come home. They finally get to see their wife and their kids, whatever that may be happening, because everyone's been having to work so hard. They go to bed, they wake up to do the same thing. Essentially, you can track this all the way back into feminism, all the way back to the beginnings of feminism, which is absolutely insane. You see divorces going up, like I said, a lot of these stemming from the women filing. More women file for the divorce or the cause for the divorce now because their idea is, I don't need no man. You also see this idea of femininity and sleeping with men. Well, I can sleep with who I choose to, so I'm going to go do it. Women aren't getting married for longer periods of time. Now, I think the average age of marriage is like 28 or 30. So, especially in their 20s, they're at college. They're going wild for a while. Many of them rack up quite a large body count, sadly. And then they lose sight of what marriage is supposed to be, of what sex is supposed to be in marriage and how God designed it. And so they get into the marriage, they get bored a lot of the times, and they leave the man, or they cause reasons for the man to end up divorcing her. But I would argue at least 3/4 of the divorces end up falling back on the woman's shoulders. But you can't say that, otherwise you're the bad guy. Now I'm the bad guy. I said it. This is the truth. This is the standard case of many women. And the higher the body count of a woman, the more men that she has slept with, the higher the odds of a divorce within that relationship. Because she gets bored. That essentially becomes what happens. And there's all kinds of different ways that you can track this and you can study it. But regardless of how you want to look at it, that is fact. But what we're teaching women is, no, you can have an abortion. You can take the birth control pill, which is going to wreck your hormones, by the way. It's going to cause infertility. You're going to have IVF treatment probably later down the road because you can't have babies anymore. But you want a baby when you're 33, but now you can't. So go ahead and pay us $50,000. We'll take care of, So abortion, if you accidentally get pregnant, birth control pill, plan Bs, in case something goes crazy. All of these avenues for women to go sleep around, and men for that matter too, which I have a problem with. This isn't just a woman issue on this one. And lose sight of what marriage was. Get married later. Don't have kids. Or have kids really late. Don't have many kids because you can't afford them. And nobody's raising them. The mom's not at home raising them. This is the reality for most of America. This is why we're seeing decline. Nobody's getting married at 18 and immediately having kids. It's essentially non-existent anymore. Partially because of financials, partially because, no, you just need to live for a little bit. And people tell them, you're just a kid. You're 18. Why would you get married right now? You need to go live your life. Go party it up at college, test drive your cars. That's what they call it, which is ridiculous. And then, after all of that, get you a job, wait a few years, then find you a woman, settle down, wait a few years, then have kids. You're in your 30s now. This is a major issue. This all started with, feminism. The women didn't want to settle down and get married. They wanted to go have a good time. The men were stuck with it. Well, no man's good enough. This is true in a lot of ways. But how many of these women are good enough? We've created a culture of women where there's legitimately men who are going to third world countries, finding them a wife, getting married to them so that they can have a green card, and bringing them back to the United States and saying, well, this is what a real woman's supposed to be. She takes care of my kids. She cooks. She cleans. She takes care of the house. I help her. I love her. But she's fulfilling the roles I need her to fulfill so that I can go work and do the things that I need to do. We work off of one another. They say the American women, the whole pool of them is corrupted, essentially. And it's sad. I don't want to be somebody that believes in that, but this is what's genuinely happening in the United States right now. a lot of men are wanting to settle down early in all reality. Now, many are not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not speaking to every single person here. I'm speaking to a large group of men who want to get married. They're good men. They work hard. They want to get married. And it's hard to find a woman that wants to settle down, that doesn't want to just, sleep around, do whatever the heck they want to do. And the fact that, women are sleeping around too, the fact that you can, at any point in time, essentially go look at boobs, makes it so that the men don't necessarily want to have to work for a woman. Yes, there's work on the man's side. The man has to work and love his wife. He's called to do that, to love his wife as Christ loves the church. I seen a funny meme the other day. It said, the easier it is to look at boobs, the harder it gets in society, the worse it gets in society. Men did greater things when it was harder to see boobs because they had to do great things to go find a wife, to impress a woman in order to, be a married couple. And we see these issues ongoing constantly. And so we just have compounding issues within feminism. It started early. Started over 100 years ago, Susan B. Anthony and such. But, wherever you want to pin the issue at, perhaps you can say, well, this is okay, but at this point, whatever you want to say, we've gone way too far. Feminism is out of hand. You have these college-age girls. They don't know how to submit to a man, honestly. They only know what they want, and that's it. They don't understand how to submit to a husband. They're just absolutely whipping him, and he wants to be married, so he figures it out. And he says, well, I'll do it. This isn't to say that a man doesn't do anything a woman wants him to do. Most men love their wives, and if their wife wants something, they're going to try to make it happen. But there's a difference in who wears the pants. The man is supposed to be the authority figure within the home. The woman is supposed to be the helpmate. This is how God designed it. This is the original plan. This is important to understand. This is an entire backstory into what it's supposed to be versus what it's dissolved into. What ultimately left-wing Jewish people have forced on us, have slowly introduced and slowly allowed to permeate society. If you're thinking the same thing, if you're thinking, man, this feminism's gotten out of control, the worse feminism gets, the worse society gets, you should follow this channel. This is the Wright Wing. I'm Jarrod Wright. I bring you the truth because you deserve to know it. I'll see you next time.